YouTube, my name is KarQ. We're back with the Reddit series here on this channel regarding Overwatch, taking a look at some of the popular subreddits. The first one I'm going to go over is on r/CompetitiveOverwatch. Now, this is going to talk about not blocking being broken, but actually armor is broken. It recently was bugged and it stopped obeying the damage reduction cap. I know Sammy is say so. I've seen this user all over the subreddit. He's a workshopper and he's covered a lot of good stuff. I'm sure this write-up is going to be great. Again, I've been on vacation for the past month to Asia, Philippines, and Japan, and I missed out on what's been changing in the game. And I've heard Ramattra is the main brawl tank right now, super meta in the pro scene, and I wondered why. And it seems like armor is broken again. This isn't the first time this has happened, by the way. So here's what this post is saying, and then I'll play the clip. Blocking didn't get OP overnight, or did it? So damage reduction in Overwatch is limited to a damage cap of 50% unless an ability specifically overrides this, such as Ramattra's block, which is 75%, Hazard's spike guard at 65% damage reduction, or Doomfist's block at 80% damage reduction. A nano boosted, which is a 50% damage reduction, fortified Orisa, which is 45% reduction, with armor is supposed to max out at the 50% reduction, right? So it's not supposed to stack. So for example, if your Orisa is fortifying and you nano her, you're gonna get 5% more, but it won't add, it won't multiply to each other. It just capped at 50% is what they're saying. Ramattra, on the other hand, will always be limited to the 75 damage reduction while blocking. Armor doesn't add to this mitigation because it's over the 50% cap, or at least it shouldn't be. So recently, maybe since Stadium perhaps, armor has been ignoring this cap, meaning that for heroes with armor, it's been possible to go over the 50% cap. Now, even a nano boosted Torbjorn with this theory, because remember, nano boost is a 50% reduction, plus Torbjorn's armor can now mitigate 75% damage from some heroes. And now what blocks do, heroes with blocks, it just exacerbates this problem because of their already high damage reductions. So a 65% hazard block becomes up to 82.5%. Ramattra's 75% block ends up being 87.5%. It's all because armor's damage reduction is applying on top of other damage mitigation. Even Orisa with a 45% quote-unquote block, which is fortify, is getting up to 72.5% damage reduction, which explains why Orisa shot up in win rate and play rate a lot too when hero bans came out. Interestingly enough, Doomfist will always be stuck at 80% because he has no armor. Hopefully the devs are aware of this because it's a massive problem, doesn't just affect Ram and Hazard. And for those curious, my workshop script calculates damage mitigation by taking the event damage and it divides it by the known values of Sombra and Torb's weapons. I just chose those two as an example for weapons that get minus 50% damage reduction from armor, such as Sombra, and the weapon that gets the -7 flat damage from armor, which is Torb. Big amount of upvotes here. Here's the video proof. I believe this, and I remember a time where I think it was like Briggs armor, when she pops Rally, that new armor she got from it was like applied and stacked on top of her base armor. So again, this isn't the first time armor's been a problem in this game. Some sort of the code broke at some point and it's probably sneakily snuck through. So maybe since Stadium perhaps, this is just speculation, but it's actually crazy and explains the whole block slop and why these heroes became so prominently strong for so long. So big ups to Sammy Say So for finding this, and this is for your awareness. As far as I know, I don't think it's patched yet, so this is continuing to be in the game. Ram is still going to be strong. I think the mid-season patch is slated for next week, and if there's no hotfix patch, expect this to still be the meta until then. So a lot of Hazard, a lot of Ram, a lot of Orisa still. Next, this was actually a post from a month ago, but I just saw this as I was browsing through Reddit and I missed it, and it has a lot of upvotes, and I think it sparks a really good discussion piece I wanted to go over. So Aaron, game director of Overwatch, and Walter Kong, which I believe is one of the game executive game producer, don't quote me on that, save the Overwatch franchise from total cancellation. In light of Microsoft's extremely wide-reaching cancellations and layoffs, I've been thinking, and it's abundantly clear that the tough, widely derided decision that Kong and Keller made in 2021 to put Overwatch 2's troubled and stalled out PvE on ice to focus on brute forcing the PvP live service back into existence ultimately saved the entire franchise from being canceled in its totality by Microsoft. Overwatch 2's PvE shares quite a few similarities to recently canceled projects such as Everwild, Perfect Dark, and Odyssey. And Prometheus, wasn't that the code name for Overwatch back in the day? Like, it was another title that they were working on before they scrapped it and made Overwatch. Like, Overwatch was created from a scrapped project. So PvE, a scrapped project as well. 5+ years of development with no clear end in sight, troubled project history with multiple reboots and key figure departures, and general confusion about what the project even was in the first place. Had Blizzard decided to stay the course and continue to focus on PvE and shipping Overwatch 2 as a feature complete product, there is absolutely no doubt in my mind that Microsoft right now would have canceled the project in full and the game would have gotten the Heroes of the Storm treatment. The fact that they managed to get any money in the till and recoup some of the development costs prior to acquisition is the only reason this game still exists. Not only that, but likely the entire team would have been laid off as well. Yes, if we go through this timeline, but if like playing other like time loop continuum theory movies and games have taught me anything, it's the whole butterfly effect. Maybe Microsoft wouldn't have been an acquirer if Overwatch 2 was successful or bombed, because it's already been 3 years, or it would have been like the 6-year mark or 7-year mark since they announced the PvE at this point. And maybe it would not have gotten this far. A different ripple and a different rope in the timeline, a different pathway would have taken, and maybe it would have been cut even like a couple years later. So let's say hypothetically in 2021 they didn't make the announcement that they're just scrapping PvE and going back to PvP. Maybe they continue development for another 2 more years. I think by 2023, like that's the cutoff. Like, guys, where is it? You know, an extra year, 2 more, 3 more years. It would have been development limbo. They might have been laid off right then and there. Not Microsoft in 2025 in July. It would have been cut 2 years ago, regardless. So I actually agree with this. Like, the entire point of the title where Aaron and Walter Kong saved the franchise by cutting the cord right there. It's a tough decision to make, but I think with the no clear end in sight, I think it was ultimately the right decision. We'll never truly know. This is all just, you know, in hindsight and what we know now with the game still being pretty successful, all things considered, seeing how many hero shooters have tried and failed over the last couple of years to make their mark. Concord. Outside of Marvel Rivals, I don't think any other hero shooter has really dented what Overwatch has been able to accomplish. And I think Overwatch 2 suffers from like the massive publicity problem. Like when you look under the hood of a lot of game studios, and not even game studios, just a lot of companies with a lot of projects, there's always going to be unfinished projects and things that get scrapped. Always. Just not all of them get the publicity that Overwatch had because of their whole grandiose announcement at BlizzCon. Like that was their first mistake, but they wouldn't have known it was a mistake, you know, until like they actually failed to execute it, of course, right? And then when everybody goes like, oh my God, Blizzard lied. Wouldn't say they like necessarily lied. They tried and then they failed to deliver. So it's just failing to deliver rather than lying. Being like, you know, we tried to promise to do this thing, but we failed to do that. It wasn't their intention to lie that they couldn't. That like the PvE was fake the whole time. They tried to do it, just key departures, failures, people moving, no end in sight, COVID, return to office, Bobby Kotick, multiple reasons, but thank goodness we still have the game today. So I think this was an interesting piece here. Let me see what some of the top comments have said. Rumor has it that Aaron has the spine of adamantium and mithril alloy to handle how hard he carries the game. It's kind of crazy how the livelihood of so many people revolve around this game, like mine. And besides the devs and designers, you have the content creators and the whole esports side. There was already a considerable amount of people displaced with the PvP cancellation, but imagine if the whole game just ceased to exist. People can hate on Overwatch for being a fake sequel all they want, but they absolutely saved hundreds of jobs by making this call. My job has been saved. I'm telling you, if the game died a couple of years ago, I don't know where I'd find my footing. Maybe I would have figured it out, but again, that's another ripple in the whole timeline. Actually, a great decision. I mean, it would have been a great decision if PvE was executed correctly and it popped off, but the fact that they knew it wasn't going to, it's a good decision then. Okay, this comment and the next one is basically how I feel about it as well. Aaron and the current dev team having to pay for the past administration's promises was always unfair with how much the team in the game gets dunked on. It's genuinely a good dev team that had to make some tough calls, which ultimately seemed to be proven right as of right now. Aaron was given a sinking ship, and while he wasn't able to fully repair it to its former glory, he managed to keep it afloat. Obviously, I've been involved with Overwatch for so many years. I can tell you that the dev team that I knew of even 5 years ago, up to 2020, when PvE was still greenlit, 99% of the people are not there anymore. Besides a couple of key figures, you know, Dion and like Aaron, some of the higher ups, but very, very few. Most of the team has been shuffled and outsourced as well. So there's just so many new faces right now. They had to, you know, figure it out after Jeff departed, their key narrator, their key writer, everybody left. So like they've had to pick up the pieces, and I would say they've done a pretty good job. job, all things considered. And that's basically how it goes. Let's move on to the next posts here. Hero stats are coming to Overwatch according to the official dev update. Yes, I covered this in the last video on this channel where we went over the blog post. They're coming out with hero stats. You can actually see proper pick rates, win rates, and you can filter by role, you can filter by console, you can filter by platform, filter by game mode, filter by region, etc., etc. This is just a placeholder. This isn't actually true stats. And additionally, in that dev blog, if you didn't watch that video, they're also releasing advanced stats page in the game client, so you can press a button and it'll show like fall off damage on Cassidy or Soldier and like actual true damage numbers. And when a patch hits, that number will change. Right? So it's baked into the client. You don't have to leave the client to go elsewhere on the wiki to find obscure information. So that's good. Next post. On the main Overwatch subreddit now, r/Overwatch, haha, Season 18 Sojourn Mythic skin, Sentinel Sojourn. I saw a little trailer for this. I think it looks really cool. That's my thoughts. I actually disliked the voice mod on Ana's Mythic skin from Season 6 or 7. I forgot what season it was, where she was the omnic robotic whatever. But I know Sojourn has that sort of voice modifier as well for her skin, but it's suits her more because she's like bionic and made out of like, you know, materials. But Ana canonically is human. Maybe she has like a fake eye or whatever, but she's not like robotic and has like artificial parts. Next, this was a humorous post here from a couple of days ago. If Overwatch Heroes had generically bad hero shooter names: APM, KO, Amazon Prime, Maui, The Protector, Disruptor, The Pigman. I see some of these. Foxy. I love how Lifeweaver is actually just the same. Germain for Baptiste, Cleopatra, Dirtmouth, Blinky. These are actually some good ones. Some of these kind of go hard. I like Quotient here, and I actually like Disruptor quite a bit. I think that's a Dota character as well. But then they mix it in with like just a couple of random first names. You get Disruptor, Quotient, then you just get Vivian. And you just get Alex, Brad. No, there's no Brad. You get Jermaine and Vivian. There you go. Here's another post with a lot of upvotes. This says, nobody's gonna know. And I'm not gonna play the sound bites. If you're on TikTok, you know this. Nobody's gonna know. They're gonna know. So this Moira is trying to hide the boxes on the health pack here. But here's the truth. This is client side only. Only the Moira sees this. This will be different for everybody else, depending on if they have model details on high and like the blast radius. Like the objects in the map are dynamic to each individual client. The ones that don't truly interact with the game. So like these can't actually block any shots for you or anything. That's why it's client side only. So they can't see it. That's why the only one who's gonna know is the Moira. The highest of noons. It's a short little clip here. This is really small. Can we zoom this in, Train? Ah, yes. The life grip into the high noon here. Very highest of noons. Oh my God, this is the max skybox. Okay, that's a good clip. I actually want to use this to unpack a couple of Overwatch tips and tech for you guys. So here's the thing. If you want to move really fast in Overwatch, this game carries momentum. That's how their physics engine works. So life grip is accelerating, or not accelerating. I think it's moving Cassie at a fixed speed or velocity. And what he's doing is when that movement ends, you input yours right at the tail end of it, and it like multiplies, so you carry the momentum. So if you want to pull this off as a Cassidy Lifeweaver friend in your next duo, when you guys go into quick play or whatever, if once your Weaver grips you in the air, you must combat roll right at the end there. The roll is momentum, acceleration, multiplied by the fixed movement. It's one of the reasons why you can like slide and then jump off slanted objects, and it works for a lot of heroes because they carry momentum when you input another motion, you know what I mean? So this one specifically, Cassidy combat rolling at the end, then you fly super high, and then this is Lijiang Tower, which has a notoriously high skybox, which is why you can play Pharah, or if you like Doomfist ult, you just end up on top of this tower. Yeah, this can only be pulled off probably on this one. I don't even know what other map has such a high skybox such as this. Other maps, you'll probably just hit the skybox and just bonk, and then you'll just be stuck as you high noon down. But this one's a really cool clip, but yeah. Let's hope and pray Symmetra never comes into Stadium. I can't think of any other character that'd be more frustrating with perks and any buffs to turret, on top of probably getting more of them, any ability power status items such as Cyber Venom or Liquid Nitrogen. I have a counter argument that I feel like all the quote unquote annoying heroes in the base game are not as annoying in Stadium because their weaknesses, or their strengths, excuse me, can be nullified by a lot of other powers and items that other heroes have. And then conversely, heroes that are traditionally weak in the base game to certain archetypes are not as bad. For example, Zenyatta has ways to dodge flankers trying to jump them. He can like kick them back. He can start floating and like do some weird stuff. So even though Symmetra seems like she can get some crazy powers, everybody else gets crazy powers and wacky stuff and has so much HP that like I don't think it's as bad as people think. When people say, oh, they don't want Sombra or Symmetra or Mauga or just any of these crazy heroes in Stadium, it's not as bad when you look at the relative power scale and how wacky that game mode is. Here, there's an annoying hero in Stadium right now, Orisa. A little annoying, but not unmanageable, right? She's not even picked all the time. There's other heroes that can do crazier stuff than her right now. And in the base game, Orisa's super annoying, but in Stadium, she's like mildly annoying. So I think Symmetra would fall into the mildly annoying category. Another example is Junkrat. I'm annoyed at Junkrat in the base game, but like I don't even see him in Stadium because he's ass. Mercy, question mark, is the next post in this r/Overwatch. We got to zoom in on this clip again. What do we got here? Oh, it's just a Mercy with like 20,000 DPI switch and then spinning around like crazy. So this is an old trick that like if you played Overwatch for a while, you should know about this. It's basically anybody on mouse and keyboard, you just press the DPI switch and then you just flick your mouse while you're rezzing to kind of manipulate your hitbox. But here's the secret. A lot of people don't realize that the big floaty wings in Valkyrie are not part of her hitbox. So it looks deceivingly like more wackier than it needs to be. Like if she's kind of just spinning in the spot, just aim at center mass. She's not actually strafing left and right. She's just tripping you out by spinning, but you just aim center mass and you'll just hit her. I mean, obviously it's harder than it looks still. Okay, now she is kind of strafing here and it's tripping you out, but the point stands. Here's a hitbox video I did in 2020, May of 2020 on my main channel here. So here it is. Mercy's hitbox. Thank you to Plus or Minus, another YouTuber back in the day. That's where I got it from. This video cooked, by the way. Got 1 million views. Crazy how many views Overwatch had back in the day. But here it is. Look at those Mercy wings. It's just her base wings. The orange stuff, not actually part of it. All right, let's end it off with one final post. Let's look at r/OverwatchUniversity. I'm a Rivals player. Any tips on how to adapt my experience to Overwatch? I'm a GM Rivals player. Yes, I know that means a lot less comparatively, and I want to know if there's any tips you guys have on how to adapt my experience to Overwatch. I'm a tank player, so what are the big differences between the games within the rules I should be looking at? If it helps, I play mostly shield tanks with my mains being Doctor Strange and Emma Frost. Thanks in advance. Well, the first thing, Marvel Rivals is third person, obviously, right? Overwatch is a first person. In the base game, when you queue up to quick play, it is defaulting to 5v5. So I'm assuming your experience is going to be 5v5 Overwatch. So tanking, first of all, let me go back to the first point. First person means your awareness has to change. Like in Marvel Rivals, you get a little bit bigger field of view from third person. As a first person tank, you should actually try to like learn the maps first and like map out where the rest of your team is, or actually turn around very briefly, especially if you can. If you're playing a shield tank, you're gonna probably pick up Reinhardt. You can hold down a shield while holding down your aim sight, and then you can actually flip your camera reverse and look behind you without actually changing your shield direction. That's probably the biggest tip. Actually, did you know you can actually do that with Doctor Strange as well? It's like a keybind you have to press. I forgot which one it is. That's actually a pretty cool tip. That's the first thing. Your awareness in first person ends up being more important, especially in first person, and the fact that you're a solo tank. So you are the crutch for your team. You don't have any other off tank to kind of back you up. And in the 6v6 environment, you could even have like other like pseudo tanks or even a third tank sometimes, right? Come and help you out. Here, it's all on you. Those are the biggest tips. Learn the maps right away and be more focused on how your team is playing to you and you adapt to how they're playing. I'm a firm believer in 5v5. The tank pretty much pilots how like the pacing and the tempo of your team should play. Because your tank choice depicts the style your team would complement the best. If you play Sigma, your team should hopefully opt for poke. If you play Rhine, you're opting for more of a brawl style. If you're playing Winston, you're opting more for a divey style. You know what I mean? So like if you're playing Winston, your team doesn't look like they're geared up to dive with you, you're not going to have a good time. You pilot how the rest of your team should operate, and if they're not syncing up with you, it's time for you to adapt. Hopefully they can adapt to you, but if not, you can also have the agency to switch as well. But the biggest difference in the game is that, and probably using your sound a bit more, like awareness and cover as well. Oh, Marvel Rivals has a lot of inflated healing. You get saved by so many abilities. Loki lamps, Luna ults, Invisible Woman ults that just save you. There's only a couple of major defensive ults in this game. Lucio Beat and Zenyatta Trank. Zenyatta's Trank is half the time of Luna. It's 6 seconds. And then Luna's is 12. And then obviously in Marvel, they stack like Luna ult, then your Loki copies another Luna ult, and the Cloak and Dagger ult, etc, etc. This game, you don't get saved by defensive ults as much. You get saved by some abilities like Bap Lamp, Nano Boost and stuff, but like using cover and making smarter executive decisions, snappier decisions is probably the bigger takeaway there. Anyways, hope that helped. And that's it for this week's Reddit. Hopefully you enjoyed the series, guys. And thanks for listening to me, App. Catch you later.